Now stay tuned to the following radio broadcast.
You're listening to the Victory Station, AM 1360. We're glad you chose us. Thank you.
It's Impact with the Florida Star, the largest, oldest, and most read African-American newspaper in Northeast Florida and South Georgia. And now, here's the host, the publisher of the award-winning Florida Star, Clara McLaughlin.
You want to make us big? Continue to pick up a copy of the Florida Star newspaper every week. We got a great show lined up for you today. Also, you can watch these shows on Star TV 18.2. This is Opio, and I am speaking to Attorney Leslie Jean-Bart. We're going to talk about what's happening with Senator Audrey Gibson being called racial and sexist slurs. Also, we're going to talk about what happened with the Hemming Five and Leslie herself being a target. So, Leslie, tell us what happened with Senator Audrey Gibson.
This was, I believe, after hours in the evening and on Monday. That would have been April 17th. And this particular senator, Senator Artiles, has a reputation for behavior that's completely inappropriate. There are allegations of him punching a college student in Tallahassee in a prior session. There's a recording that's been revealed of him using a Muslim slur to describe someone. And it certainly seems as if he has a problem that hasn't been addressed, that he feels that he can denigrate a senior senator, and that he could simply apologize, not quite for being as offensive as it is, but for being someone who's comfortable with that vernacular.
Tell us what
learned that wasn't appropriate.
Tell us what he said and how he said it.
With anger, with malice. He did not appreciate, he was angry at her for questioning him about some of his bills as if she doesn't have a right to do so. That's offensive. You know, we have had a situation going on nationwide and even statewide where African American women are being silenced, or where white males are attempting to silence African American women. We've seen it with Bill O'Reilly and Maxine Waters, and we've seen it with Sean Spicer and April, what's April's last name? Was with Urban Radio during a press. At the Capitol, where he told her to stop shaking her head. And there's just the audacity in this day and time to tell grown, adult, senior women, not by age, but just in their status and the respect that they should deserve, that they think it's okay to talk to black women like that. We have where the state attorney, Aramis Yala from Orlando, where the governor has taken away many of her first-degree murder cases, determining that she's not capable of making a decision of the right course of action. Again, not respecting a black woman's opinion, and say that's within her scope and certainly her ability to do so. And then I even feel it myself with some of the backlash that I'm receiving, and it raises a lot of concern that this is a current trend going on in our country, where
Okay.
You want to go there yet?
No. I want to first. So they say he was yelling obscenities. They say he was drunk. It was 11 o'clock at night. They said that he used the when they say obscenities, I guess the B word, or they say some kind of sexist terms. And then he used the N words when referring to some black people who supported the president of the Senate, who had won some kind of close contested race.
No, so this is what's even stranger. He was using the N-word to refer to white Republican colleagues who supported the Senate president. And then he called the Senate president a slur that starts with a P. It was highly inappropriate.
Yeah, and then
Not
he said something that, well, because of where he said something about because of where I'm from, I can use the word. I read something like that.
No, he can't. I mean, no. And it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter who you are. And if this had been an African-American senator drunk saying these highly inappropriate things like this, I think we should all be offended. If he had called a senator the B word, called the Senate president a P word, and referred to his colleagues as the N word. That's just not appropriate. I don't care where you're from.
Right.
And the call should be for him to resign. And if that means rallies in Tallahassee and really pushing this, we can't go to the next issue, then the next issue. There's a lot going on out there. And we just have to find a way to keep the pressure in all these situations to make sure that we don't allow this to slip by. It's not appropriate. He's not going to resign unless the public pushes him to do so.
Right. The head of the Democratic Party for the state says that he should resign and that what he did was outrageous. A lot of people have been speaking out. But the Senate president hasn't said to resign, and I don't think he's said that he's going to resign either as of yet.
No, he has certainly indicated that he is going to fight. There's a certain process that's pending in the Senate right now, filed by the Senator Perry Thurston, who's chair of the Black Caucus, that goes to the Senate Rules Committee, which is actually a process to try to have him removed. It's more of a slow process. The Rules Chair actually can set up the process, determine if the petition is valid, things of that nature. Not something that's done on a regular basis, so the process isn't as clearly understood as maybe some other processes. But he has indicated that he wants to depose his black senator colleague about what he said and when he said it. So he's planning to fight this. He's not planning to do the right thing and resign. And the Senate president hasn't called on him to do so. I don't know if there's a strategic reason for doing it. Numbers are tight somewhat in the Senate when it comes to votes. I don't know if that is a motivator. But this man, now that everybody knows who he is, what he stands for, and what he represents, shouldn't be allowed to cast another vote in the legislature ever again.
Yeah, if he stays there, it's going to be hard for the people that he represents. I'll tell you that.
It is.
Do you know what media received the first Eagle Award by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office for being the most factual? The Florida Star. Do you know which media solely addresses issues of concern for African Americans? The Florida Star. Do you know which media carries local, state, national, and international news regarding African Americans? The Florida Star. Do you know the only media that carries a special section for our youth at home and the schedule for 3 black television networks? Now you know the Florida Star. Northeast Florida's largest, oldest, and most read African-American newspaper, serving since 1951 in more than 200 locations. The Florida Star. News you can use. News you can trust. The people's choice. Striving to make a difference. Subscribe today. Call 766-8834. That's 766-8834. Pick up the Florida Star at over 200 locations. Or to have it delivered, call 766-8834. The Florida Star. Speaking truth to power.
This is Opio. I'm talking to Attorney Leslie Jean-Bart. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the Hemming 5 situation. Are you the attorney on that now?
I don't have an official connection to any of the individuals. I know David Snyder in passing from community events, but otherwise I do not know any of the other individuals personally. However, I'm friends with a lot of them on Facebook and friends with people who are out at the protest. So I started seeing the videos Friday evening as they were trickling across Facebook and posts of somebody being put into an ambulance unconscious and a parent being denied access to see this individual. And that was on Friday, April 7th, and it affected me. I will honestly say it affected me. I had never seen anything like that in our city in a very long time, and I don't think many others had. It looked like something from somewhere else is what it looked like. But the next morning, it is still kind of, by the first of the morning, I was trying to wrap my head around it. So I read the police report, I looked at the videos, and I tried to summarize on Facebook what happened. Because when you're dealing with information from multiple sources and trying to figure out, so I put together a timeline with the idea of really just trying to help myself figure it out and hoping that others would respond and add details or let me know what's right and what's wrong. And part of that summary involved the police report stating that Hanel Crome stated F the police. And I clinically, as a lawyer, noted that that is constitutionally protected free speech. That's one of the statements that I put in there. And then I continued to note everything else, from Hanel Crome being deaf, his hearing aid was knocked out, he was beaten unconscious. I later learned that morning from someone who saw him placed in the ambulance and then went to Shands waiting for the ambulance to arrive, that the ambulance took 45 minutes to get from Hemming Park to U.S. Health Jacksonville.
Wow.
Where did they take Connell? What happened in those 45 minutes? You have an unconscious individual. Where is he? He's not in a police car where they then decide to take him to Shands. He's in an ambulance, which certainly indicates he should have been taken directly to Shands. What happened in those 45 minutes? That's a question that I think we all should demand an answer to, because something's not right about that. So I kept learning more information. SCLC had a breakfast that morning. That's where I was picking up more information. And more individuals were talking about it, and we were trying to understand what we saw, because it really was just that unbelievable. And if people haven't seen the videos, I recommend that they, check out media sites so they could actually see what happened. And what was really startling was that there was a large white male, identified later as Gary Snow, with a large flag that was emboldened with Trump, and he was literally shoulder to shoulder with the protesters doing a counter protest.
Right.
He was he was touching them.
Not being separated by the police.
Not at all. That had been requested. I did ask about that. People said that they had requested that he be separated, and that request was not heeded by JSO. There's another point where you see Connell with his arms outstretched, and you see Gary Snow with his elbow and forearm on Connell's chest. Nothing's done about that. And as a lawyer, I'm looking at it with this group of people who are always very peaceful. They've never had violent protests. I see them trying really hard to ignore Snow. And they're doing as good a job as you can, except for he's pressing them. The flag is in people's faces, touching them or about to touch them. And how much can you ask of someone to try to avoid a situation like this? And as a lawyer, I'm thinking, what could I have possibly told them to do that would be reasonable for a human to do in a situation like this? And it bothered me that they were trying to do everything right, and yet still everything happened the way it did. And you see Snow aggressively reach out to Connell. Now, we realize later that he's shooting the bird into his face, very close to his face. But when you defensively see a big guy like that and a hand coming towards you, a fist coming towards you, you don't have time to think, oh, he's just going to shoot a bird in my face as close as he can get. He's not going to really hit me. So Connell reacted defensively, and the officer who was standing right there between them did nothing to Snow. He ignored Snow, and instead Connell was just pounced upon, it seemed, like he was the aggressor in the situation, where you could certainly see that Snow was the aggressor. All of us could see that Snow was the aggressor. He was the cause of the disturbance completely. And then to learn that he was deaf, that he was given commands behind his back that he could not have possibly complied with, that he was rendered unconscious and taken to the hospital 45 minutes later. Side note, there was a story, it got some attention, but not a lot, that the police were recording people who protest. These guys protest all the time. It later comes out that Snow did a video sometime prior to the protest where he made it clear he was targeting Connell and David Snyder. David Snyder, who's the protest organizer, who was arrested for inciting a riot because he was a protest organizer. And what I saw clearly were examples that looked to me as if constitutional rights were being violated.
Now it looks like the sheriff is now saying that we got to now change the way we do things. It seems like they're now admitting that, hey, we did some bad things there, because a lot of people, basically uproar in Jacksonville seems like about it.
When I would say the sheriff had to give a statement every day last week, and there's more that he needs to do, and he knows there's more that he needs to do. This situation has to be addressed because it was offensive to see something like this, and we need answers. We need to know who Gary Snow is. We need to know what kind of training does the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office when it comes to deaf individuals. See, they were told repeatedly he's deaf, and they're yelling at him from behind him to comply. And they're told that he's deaf. And you're like, and he's being tased repeatedly. And it goes without mentioning, if you see it, Gary Snow is considerably bigger than Connell Crooms, who I believe one report listed him at maybe 155 pounds. Gary Snow looks like he's 6-something, huge guy.
About
but
250.
Snell was the aggressor. You know, it's just something that defy logic about what happened that day. And I'll tell you, this is a concern, not a known fact, but it's a concern that situation was allowed to get out of hand. A concern that we think needs to be addressed by the sheriff's office. We think that the sheriff's office needs to investigate Gary Snow's relationship with officers individually.
Yeah, because this is a Trump guy. We know a lot of the police officers are Trumpsters here in Jacksonville. We know how when Trump came, what they did to Jacksonville that were peaceful, that wanted to go. A lot of black, they kicked them out. But also this guy has one of those desecration flags that has the blue stripe on it called a blue lives flag. It's a desecration flag.
Oh,
really.
yeah.
And so he wears that, and so it would, if you can connect the dots, and one would reason to believe that police officers would give him more leeway, particularly when you see a picture of him sitting on their car and they're all kind of around him and they just kind of doing their business, but he's kind of chilling, sitting on the car. So you can believe that maybe there's a problem that JSO have that they really have to take concerns with it, because if not, then people are going to think that this guy works with the police. Right,
and it's one thing for the sheriff to go, I don't know anything about this guy. How many officers do you have? You don't know all their relationships. So do I believe that the sheriff doesn't know about any connection? That's highly possible. But what I think is important is the need to drill deeper and to see what's really going on. Gary Snow, not only being a Trump supporter and putting himself out there as being connected to law enforcement and a huge supporter of law enforcement, has made clear that he's connected with other groups, 3%ers, white nationalists, white supremacists, all things that we should all be concerned about if he does have personal relationships with individuals on our sheriff's department. And it's naive to think that that's not possible. It is possible. And you're only going to learn that if a thorough investigation is done. The sheriff's office will be changing their policy, from what I understand from the sheriff, where they will separate counter-protesters from protesters from now on. And they will keep an eye out for that, because that looked really bad for them. Let's be clear. That's who it looked bad for, not protesters and things like that. It looked bad for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. And they have to understand that, because the public needs to be able to trust that our officers are going to follow the law and handle situations appropriately.
How were you attacked?
Well, because apparently that post, which I did on April 8th, clinically noting that of the police is protected speech, protected by the First Amendment, which is absolutely, undeniably a fact. It's noted in, I think, police pamphlets that, offensive language is, not an appropriate reason to arrest somebody. The president of the FOP, Steve Zona, agrees with me that it's protected speech. But this is the thing. In another matter, where he misunderstood a post by another Facebook friend, where she was trying to point out that Gary Snow, this Trump individual, was using the JSO shield on a page that he was, using to promote himself and kind of like his Code Blue Jacksonville or something like that, that he was using it as if he really was officially connected with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office by using the JSO shield. So, and connected with the local FOP. So someone brought this to the attention of the president of the FOP to let him know that Gary Snow was using the shield and trying to make this connection. Well, the president of the FOP, Steve Zona, he misunderstood the post and thought the post was connecting Gary Snow to FOP. So he was being very defensive, very nippy and rude to the person who posted it. So I went on the post that I was already tagged in and said, no, you misunderstood. She's trying to help you out and let you know what Gary Snow is doing so that you're aware of this and can address it. She's not anti-law enforcement. And next thing I know, I become the target of the Fraternal Order of Police president for an entire day, all day long. He is scouring my Facebook page. He's noted that I made that statement, and then he's telling me, but you didn't condemn him for making the statement. Why aren't you condemning him? You must condemn him.
That's not your job to do that.
That's not my job. And
particularly as an attorney.
I'm not going to let somebody bully me into taking a stand for somebody. I'm condemning a person I don't know, like I said before, Canal Crone. I don't know him. And frankly, the young man was beaten unconscious after he said it. I don't think it's my place to condemn him for exercising his constitutional right. Now, free speech of this nature is naturally provocative. That's why there's case law that has had to address this over and over and over again, because it is provocative language. That's why it's used. But it's not my place to condemn this young man for using it. Then the president brought up that there was a sign, and he said, that said, dead police. That's it. Quote unquote, dead police. I've never seen, sight, or sound of a sign that said dead police. I didn't see it noted in the police reports. As I've said before, I was not at the protest. What does a sign that says dead police even mean? But he was demanding I condemn it. So I told him, I can't condemn something I have no frame of reference of, and I don't know what you're referring to. So then he decided to say, so you approve of dead police.
Hey, it could be dead police go to heaven.
Right.
It can be a movie title.
Right. And I'm trying to be, I'm a lawyer. I do have a reputation I care greatly about. And so I'm trying to be very authentic about what I do. And I was not going to comment on something that didn't have. I mean, what does that mean? Yes, it's, like, oh, you should just I condemn something that says dead police. No, you shouldn't. That's not how lawyers think and operate. And that might be unusual to some people, or it might not be. But it's not appropriate for me to comment on something I have zero frame of reference. And more importantly, nobody I have talked to knows what this sign is about and saw a sign that said dead police.
No, tell him, say, do you think Trayvon Martin should have been killed, and do you think that Zimmerman should have been in prison for it? Ask him that.
Right.
Because we all know what the real deal is. They're trying to corner you on. He's trying to corner you on something that they never do.
No. So, you know what I did say? He did try to say that my posts like mine, cause problems in the community. And I did tell him, no, beating someone unconscious causes problems in the community.
Right.
A Facebook post doesn't. I mean, let's get real here.
Well, let me say this. This is Opio. I'm talking to Attorney Leslie Jean-Bart. What's interesting is there's something that just happened where the city had to pay $1.9 million to the Davinian Williams family, the guys from Jack's Beach or Atlantic Beach, and he was on the I think the Arlington Freeway. A police officer by the name of Edwards, who has since resigned, but he was fired because he killed that guy, right? But then he was fired by Rutherford. Rutherford fires him. It's the police union and FOP people that helped him get his job back. But they decided at JSO that they would not put him out on the street again, and ultimately he leaves. But he's the kind of guy that when even their own sheriff says that one of their guys was wrong for actually ending somebody's life, and he has children that will never get to be with their father again, they are the organization that supports this guy going back to work after he was fired by the police department. So it's hard to take the FOP on anything. They have a long history of being on the wrong side of things.
Right, and it's kind of like the shooting in Miami, if you recall, with the autistic man, I think the union president tried to say that shooting was valid. I mean, there comes a point where they have an agenda that they have to pursue. They're union. I get that. I respect union responsibilities. But they are not sitting as neutral arbitrators of what the facts are. That's not their role in situations like this. They are there to support their officers. They do it they're very dedicated to it, but they're not there to seek a truth for the community. That's just not really their purpose. And it is what it is. That's what unions do. Unions represent their employees.
Right.
I serve on the Florida Bar Grievance Committee, where when a grievance or complaint is filed against a lawyer, lawyers look at those complaints, and lawyers make decisions about what type of, if there's something that has been violated, a rule that's been violated, and what's appropriate remedy for it. So it's very different for me, when there's an entire industry that doesn't police itself, to use a pun, where lawyers, if a lawyer needs help, we want that lawyer to get help. But if a lawyer is harming the community and the public, we want them to no longer harm the community and the public. And that's not the same way that police unions work. And I think it's important that people understand that dynamic and what their job is and what their role is. And they often tell us, wait. But they often come out immediately and say the officer did nothing wrong. That's their job.
This is Opio, and I am speaking to Attorney Leslie. A lot of you say Jean-Bart. Some of you would.
That's fine.
That's right, Jean-Bart. All right, thank you. Give us some last words of what you think should happen in the way of the five. Should they have all the charges dropped? Real quick.
Well, I certainly, can speak for Connell and David Snyder, the ones that have caught my attention the most, where I believe that there were some constitutional issues there. And I believe that needs to be looked at, and the state attorney's office needs to make the decision to probably drop those charges. That would be what I think would be a valid decision to make. No, I don't always have everything that they're going to have on hand, but based on what I've seen and heard, I think that would be appropriate. The others I'm not too familiar with. It's a slippery slope that I've avoided, like if anybody was hitting an officer or all this other stuff. It was chaotic. And so no point of any post that I've ever put has approved of that type of behavior. But I do think that looking at a totality of the circumstances and how chaotic that scene was, that should be taken in consideration when addressing those charges as well. It's hard when you see someone you care about being beaten up by anybody.
Right.
It's hard. And, you know, these are mostly young people, very passionate about what they're dealing with. And by no means are these people who I think should have criminal records that hinder them in the future. So I think that, you know, based on the totality of the circumstances, that there should be some leniency given to them.
All right, well, let that be the last words. Thank you, Attorney Leslie Jean-Bart.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me on.
And there you have it, another great show. Continue to pick up a copy of the Florida Star newspaper. We will not get big until you make us big, so pick up one of our papers at least once a week. Also, continue to tune in to Star TV 18.2. Nobody has better programming than we have, particularly for intelligent, black, and bold people. All right, this is Opio. I got to get out of here. I will see you next time on Impact.